The old salvage ship Rusty Nail shuddered as Tom Reed guided it through the debris field. Chunks of metal, some as small as his fist and others as big as houses, floated in the darkness of space. This was the third day of searching, and his crew was getting restless. "Nothing but junk out here, Tom," Jack called from the engine room through the ship's comm. "We're burning fuel for nothing." Tom ignored him, keeping his eyes on the scanner. Something wasn't right about this debris field. Most space junk was easy to identify. Pieces of old ships, satellites, or mining equipment. But these pieces were different. They were made of materials his scanner couldn't identify. "One more hour," Tom replied. "Then we'll head back to New Horizon." Meg, who sat at the pilot's controls next to him, rolled her eyes. "You said that yesterday." "And I meant it yesterday too," Tom said with a small smile. He liked Meg. She was the best pilot on the colony, which wasn't saying much since New Horizon only had about 5,000 people, but she could fly anything, and that made her valuable. The scanner beeped, and Tom sat up straight. "Hold on. I'm getting something strange." "Strange how?" asked Doc, the oldest member of the crew. He had been a real doctor once, back on Earth, before something happened that he never talked about. Now he patched up the crew when they got hurt and spent the rest of his time reading old books. "It's giving off heat," Tom said, pointing at the screen. "Not much, but more than the surrounding junk. And the metal. It's not registering as anything in our database. Probably just some alien trash," Meg said, but she was already steering the ship toward the signal. The Rusty Nail moved slowly through the debris field until they came to a stop next to what looked like a twisted piece of metal about the size of a small car. It was dark gray with strange purple lines running through it, and parts of it seemed melted. "That's it." Jack's voice came through the comm again. "That's what got you all excited. It's just a chunk of space junk." "Maybe," Tom said, "but I want to bring it in." They used the ship's mechanical arm to pull the object into the cargo bay. It was heavier than it looked, and the arm strained under the weight. Once it was safely inside, Tom went down to take a closer look. The object sat in the middle of the cargo bay, looking even stranger up close. The metal wasn't shiny like most spacecraft materials. Instead, it had a dull, almost stone-like quality. The purple lines seemed to catch the light in an odd way, almost like they were absorbing it rather than reflecting it. "What do you think, Doc?" Tom asked as the older man examined the object. Doc ran his hand over the surface. "I've never seen anything like it. It's not from any human ship, that's for sure." "Alien," Tom suggested. "Maybe, but not from any alien we've met." Doc pointed to what looked like burn marks. "And whatever happened to it, it was violent." The ship's comm crackled. "We're approaching New Horizon," Meg announced. "Better strap in for landing." New Horizon wasn't much to look at. It was a small colony on a rocky planet with thin air and not much water. Most of the buildings were made of local stone and metal salvaged from ships. But it was home, and Tom felt a sense of relief as they landed on the dusty spaceport. "I'll go register our find," Tom said as they secured the ship. "What find?" Jack grumbled. "That piece of junk." Tom ignored him and headed to the colony's administration building. The official there, a bored-looking man named Peterson, barely looked up from his screen. "Another salvage run?" he asked, stamping Tom's paperwork. "Yeah. Found something interesting this time." Peterson didn't seem to care. "Standard fee. Anything valuable. The colony gets 20%. "Sure," Tom said, even though he doubted the colony would want any part of his strange find. As he walked back to the ship, a voice called out to him. "Tom Reed. Just the man I wanted to see." Tom turned to see Blue, the only non-human resident of New Horizon. Blue wasn't his real name, of course. His real name was a series of clicks and whistles that human mouths couldn't pronounce. He was tall and thin with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His people, the Vari, were traders who had been allied with humans for nearly 50 years. "Blue," Tom nodded. "What can I do for you?" "Word travels fast," Blue said, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "I hear you found something unusual in the outer debris field." Tom frowned. "How did you hear that already? We just landed." Blue waved one of his four hands dismissively. "I have good ears, or whatever the equivalent is for your communication systems." "Well, it's nothing exciting. Just a piece of debris that looked interesting." Blue's eyes narrowed. "I would like to see it. Perhaps I could make an offer." Something about the way Blue said it made Tom suspicious. "It's probably worthless." "Then you won't mind if I take a look," Blue insisted. Tom reluctantly led Blue back to the rusty nail. When they entered the cargo bay, Blue stopped abruptly. "Where did you find this?" he asked, his voice suddenly serious. "In the outer debris field." "Why?" Blue approached the object cautiously. "I will give you 5,000 credits for it." Tom blinked in surprise. 5,000 credits was more than they usually made in 3 months of salvage work. "What's so special about it?" he asked. "Nothing," Blue said quickly. "I collect unusual items. This one interests me." Tom looked at the twisted piece of metal, then back at Blue. Something wasn't right. No one paid 5,000 credits for a piece of junk, no matter how unusual it looked. "Sorry, Blue, it's not for sale right now." Blue's eyes narrowed again. 10,000. "No," Tom said firmly. After Blue left, clearly unhappy, Jack confronted Tom. "Are you crazy? 10,000 credits for that thing." "Something's not right," Tom explained. "Blue knows something about this that we don't." Later that night, after the others had gone to sleep, Tom returned to the cargo bay. He wanted another look at the strange object. As he approached, he noticed something that made him freeze. The object was different. Some of the twisted parts seemed less twisted. The burn marks were less noticeable, and the purple lines were glowing faintly in the dim light of the cargo bay. The piece of space junk was repairing itself. Tom stared at it for a long time, his mind racing. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just scrap, and he had a feeling their lives were about to get a lot more complicated. Tom didn't sleep much that night. He kept thinking about the strange object in his cargo bay and how it seemed to be fixing itself. By morning, he was tired but determined to learn more. "We need to study it," he told his crew over breakfast in the small kitchen area of their ship. Jack snorted. "Study it? We're salvage workers, not scientists." "I know, but there's something special about this thing." Tom leaned forward, and Blue offered 10,000 credits for it. That got their attention. 10,000. Meg nearly choked on her coffee. "For that piece of junk." "It's not junk," Tom said firmly. "At least, I don't think it is. I checked on it last night. It's changing." Doc raised his eyebrows. "Changing how?" "Healing, I guess. The damaged parts look better. And those purple lines were glowing." The crew exchanged worried glances. "Maybe we should get rid of it," Meg suggested. "If it's alien tech that can repair itself, it might be dangerous. Or valuable," Jack pointed out. "More valuable than 10,000 credits." Tom shook his head. "I want to know what it is first. Doc, you've read about old alien tech. Any ideas?" Doc thought for a moment. "I've never heard of anything like this, but I can help you examine it." After breakfast, Tom and Doc went to the cargo bay. The object did look different in the daylight. The twisted metal had definitely straightened out in some places, and the burn marks were fading. "Fascinating," Doc murmured, running a scanner over the surface. "It's generating a small energy field. Very small, but definitely there." Tom reached out to touch one of the purple lines. As his fingers made contact, the line glowed brighter. Then suddenly, the whole object hummed to life. Tom jumped back as a section of the metal slid open, revealing a depression that looked almost like a handprint, but with 6 fingers instead of 5. "What did you do?" Doc asked, eyes wide. "Nothing. I just touched it." They stared at the open panel. After a moment of hesitation, Tom reached toward the handprint. "Tom, wait," Doc started to say, but Tom had already placed his hand in the depression. A beam of light shot out from the object, scanning Tom from head to toe. Then a holographic display appeared above the object, showing strange symbols that flowed and changed. "It's some kind of interface," Tom said in awe. But as quickly as it had activated, the interface disappeared, and the panel slid closed. The object went silent again. "I think it scanned you," Doc said. "But why?" Before Tom could answer, an alarm blared across the colony. It was the warning system. New Horizon was under attack. They rushed outside to see people running for shelter. In the sky above, 3 dark ships were descending toward the colony. "Crawl," Meg said as she joined them, her face grim. Raiders. Everyone knew about the Crawl Empire. They were a warrior species that saw humans as weak and had been pushing into human space for years, raiding colonies and taking whatever they wanted. "Get to the shelter," Tom ordered his crew. "I need to grab something from the ship." "What? Are you crazy?" Jack shouted over the noise of the alarm. "Just go. I'll meet you there." Tom ran back into the Rusty Nail while his crew headed for the colony's underground shelter. He wasn't sure why, but he couldn't leave the strange object behind. If the Crawl found it, he reached the cargo bay just as the first explosions hit the colony. The building shook, and dust fell from the ceiling. Tom grabbed a hover cart and started pushing it toward the object. Suddenly, the ship's door burst open. A Crawl warrior stood there, nearly 7 feet tall with gray, scaly skin and sharp teeth. It wore armor made of some black material and carried a weapon that looked like a cross between a gun and a sword. "Human." The Crawl growled in broken English. "Do not move." Tom froze. He had no weapon. The Crawl could kill him with one shot. The alien stepped forward, its yellow eyes scanning the cargo bay. When it spotted the object on the hover cart, it made a strange hissing sound. "What is that?" it demanded, pointing at the object. "Just scrap," Tom said, trying to sound calm. "Worthless junk." The Crawl wasn't fooled. It moved toward Tom, raising its weapon. "You will come with me." "Bring that." Tom backed up until he hit the wall. There was nowhere to run. The Crawl was between him and the door. He closed his eyes, waiting for the end. Then he heard a strange humming sound. When he opened his eyes, the object on the hover cart was vibrating. The purple lines were glowing brightly now, pulsing with energy. The Crawl noticed too. It turned toward the object, weapon still raised. With a series of clicks and whirs, the object began to change shape. Parts shifted and moved. Metal flowed like water. In seconds, what had been a twisted piece of scrap was now clearly a weapon of some kind, with a long barrel that pointed directly at the Crawl. Before the alien could react, the weapon fired. There was no explosion, no beam of light, just a soft whoosh sound. The Crawl dropped to the floor, not dead but completely paralyzed. Tom stared in shock. The weapon had transformed again, parts shifting until a small holographic display appeared above it. Symbols flashed, then changed to English letters. "Threat neutralized. Defensive protocols active. Awaiting instructions. Operator." Tom couldn't believe what he was seeing. The piece of scrap wasn't just alien technology. It was some kind of intelligent weapon system. And somehow, it had chosen him as its operator. "Who? What are you?" Tom asked. The display changed again. "I am Defense Unit 7 Gamma, Guardian Silas. You AKVBBEN registered as new operator after 3,742 standard CYCLEs of dormancy, threat detection, and DICATs QOONI under ATACK. How would you like to proceed, operator?" More explosions shook the ship. Outside, Tom could hear screams and the sound of weapons fire. The colony was being overrun by Crawl raiders. He looked at the weapon, then at the fallen Crawl warrior, and made his decision. Can you help me defend this colony? The weapon's display pulsed with light. HFY Story, Operator. Guardian Protocols Authorized Defense of Civilian Population. Shall we begin? Tom took a deep breath. Yes. Let's begin. Tom stared at the weapon that had once been scrap. How do I use you? The holographic display flickered. Grip main handle. System wheel ADAP2 operator physiology. Tom saw a handle form on the side of the weapon. He grabbed it carefully. The metal felt warm and seemed to shift under his fingers, molding to fit his hand perfectly. A wave of information suddenly flooded his mind. Not words, but feelings and images showing him how to aim and fire. Whoa, he whispered. That's different. Neural interface stabilization. Basic if UNCT violence. UNOCKET. Advanced functions require FURTE or bonding. Tom hefted the weapon. It was lighter than it looked. What should I call you? Defense Unit 7 Gamma is a bit long. The display blinked. Operator designation privilege. ACCPT'd. I'll call you Scrap, Tom decided, since that's what I thought you were. Designation Scrap ACNOLEGG'd. Another explosion rocked the ship. Tom had to move fast. He stepped over the paralyzed Crawl warrior and headed for the door. Will that alien stay down? He asked. Neural disruptor EFAC. 47 minutes remaining. Good enough. Outside, chaos reigned. The Crawl ships hovered over the colony, dropping more warriors. The colony's small defense force was no match for the raiders. Tom spotted his crew huddled behind a building with other colonists. He ran to them, carrying Scrap. Jack's eyes widened. What is that thing? It's our Scrap, Tom explained quickly. It's actually a weapon, a really advanced one. Doc examined it with amazement. The alien technology activated. Not just activated. It talks to me. It has some kind of AI. Tom turned to Meg. We need to get to the colony center. That's where most of the fighting is. Meg looked at him like he was crazy. We're salvage workers, not soldiers. We are today, Tom said firmly. This weapon can take down the Crawl. I've seen it. Jack shook his head. One weapon against all those raiders. As if in answer, Scrap's display lit up. Tactical analysis. 37 KRALL warriors in colony perimeter. 3 TRNS vessels. WNABLECNARIO with QRN to resources. The crew stared at the weapon. Did that thing just talk? Meg asked. Tom nodded. This is Scrap. Scrap, these are my friends. Additional operators, Scrap asked. No, just me for now. Tom looked at his crew. Are you with me? After a moment, they all nodded, even Jack. What's the plan? Doc asked. Tom listened as Scrap fed him tactical information. We need to get to high ground. The water tower would work. From there, we can take out the Crawl squads one by one. They moved through the colony, staying in the shadows. Twice they had to hide as Crawl warriors passed by, dragging colonists or carrying stolen supplies. When they reached the water tower, Meg helped Tom climb up while Jack and Doc kept watch below. From the top, Tom could see the whole colony. The Crawl were systematically looting buildings and rounding up colonists. Near the center, Director Wilson was being held at gunpoint, surrounded by Crawl warriors. TRGET systems on end line, Scrap announced. Select TAR-GT priority way. Tom thought for a moment. Can you disable the Crawl ships? HFY IV. Energy reserves at 62%. Sufficient for TAR-GTED shipped disablement. Do it. Tom aimed Scrap at the nearest crawl ship. The weapon hummed, parts shifting again as a barrel extended. A soft blue light gathered at the tip. Firing. A beam of energy, almost invisible except for a slight blue tint in the air, shot from Scrap. It hit the crawl ship, which immediately lost power and dropped several feet before emergency systems caught it. The crawl warriors on the ground looked up in confusion. "Now target the warriors near Director Wilson," Tom ordered. "Non-lethal if possible." HFY switching to binaural disruptor mode. Tom fired 5 quick shots, and 5 crawl warriors dropped to the ground. The others scattered, looking for the source of the attack. "They've spotted us," Meg called from below. "More crawl coming this way." "Keep going," Tom told Scrap. He fired at more warriors, dropping them before they could reach the water tower. One of the remaining crawl ships turned toward Tom's position. It fired a shot that hit the water tower, making it shake. "Structural integrity. Compromised," Scrap warned. "Recommend immediate relocation." "Working on it," Tom muttered. He fired at the ship, but it moved, evading the shot. Below, 3 crawl warriors had reached the base of the tower. Jack and Doc were trying to hold them off, but they were outnumbered. "Meg," Tom shouted, "get up here. I need help." Meg scrambled up the ladder as Tom provided covering fire. When she reached the top, he handed her Scrap. "Hold this for a second." But when Meg touched the weapon, Scrap's display flashed red. "Unauthorized operator. Access denied." Meg nearly dropped it. "It won't let me use it." Tom took Scrap back. "Why won't it work for her?" "Guardian protosavolas. 1 operator PR unite. Operator transfer requires FORM8LPRCGUR." The water tower shook again as another shot hit it. "We need to get down," Tom said. "This thing's going to collapse." They climbed down quickly. At the bottom, they found Jack and Doc hiding behind some crates, pinned down by crawl fire. "Nice of you to join us," Jack said sarcastically. Tom raised Scrap to return fire, but a voice behind them made them freeze. "Do not move, humans." They turned to see Blue standing there, but he wasn't alone. 2 more aliens of his species were with him, all holding strange devices. "Blue," Tom was confused. "What are you doing here?" Blue's eyes fixed on Scrap. "You have activated a Guardian weapon. Impressive." "You know what this is?" Tom asked. "Of course." Blue stepped closer. "My people have been searching for Guardian technology for centuries. We believed it was all destroyed in the Great War." "The Great War." 10,000 years ago, Blue explained. "The Guardians fought against the Devourers, the ancestors of the Crawl. The Guardians won, but they vanished afterward. Only legends remained." A Crawl shot hit the crates, sending splinters flying. "Fascinating history lesson," Jack said. "But can we talk about it when we're not being shot at?" Blue nodded. "Yes. We must secure the Guardian weapon. It is too important to lose." "It's not going anywhere," Tom said firmly. "Scrap chose me as its operator." Blue's eyes widened. "You named it. Scrap." "Yeah. Why?" "The Guardians were known for their sense of humor," Blue said. "They would approve." Another explosion rocked the colony. The second crawl ship was moving toward the center, weapons firing. "We need to stop that ship," Tom said. "You cannot," Blue replied. "Not alone. But perhaps with our help." Blue and his companions raised their devices. They were not weapons, but some kind of communication tools. They spoke into them in their clicking language. Moments later, a new ship appeared in the sky above the colony. It was sleek and fast, with blue markings. It fired on the crawl ships, disabling the second one. "The preservers have arrived," Blue announced. "My true people. We have dedicated our lives to finding and protecting Guardian technology." Tom looked at Scrap, then at Blue. "You could have told me this before. Would you have believed me?" Blue asked. Or would you have sold the Guardian unit to the highest bidder? Tom had to admit Blue had a point. With the help of Blue's people, they'd pushed back the remaining Crawl warriors. By sunset, the raiders had retreated, leaving their disabled ships behind. As the colonists emerged from hiding, Director Wilson approached Tom. When he saw Scrap, his eyes widened. "What is that weapon, Reed?" he demanded. "Colony regulations require all weapons to be registered." "It's a long story," Tom said. "It's Guardian technology," Blue cut in. "Beyond your understanding, Director." Wilson's face hardened. "Whatever it is, it needs to be turned over to colonial authority immediately." Tom felt Scrap grow warm in his hands, as if responding to his sudden anger. "Operator Stories DTHTE. Defensive Pirotosios Hoen STA and DBY. "That won't be happening, Director," Tom said calmly. "Scrap chose me, and we're staying together." Wilson looked like he wanted to argue, but with Blue's people watching, he merely nodded stiffly and walked away. "You have made a powerful enemy," Blue warned. "Added to the Crawl. What's one more?" Tom looked down at Scrap. "Besides, I think we can handle it." "AFIRMATIV," Scrap replied. "Operator defense. Priority 1. Tom smiled. This strange piece of scrap had changed everything, and he had a feeling the adventure was just beginning. Tom didn't sleep that night. His mind was too full of everything that had happened. Scrap sat on the table in his small living quarters, its purple lines glowing softly in the darkness. "Can you tell me more about the Guardians?" Tom asked. Scrap's display lit up. "Historical RCAIVs partially corrupted. Limited data available. Tell me what you can." "Guardians. Peacekeeping force is stabilized to maintain balance between civilizations. Primarily protect developing species from extinction or QOMQEST. And the Crawl? Their ancestors were called the Devours. AFR Ermative. The DEVOURERS Sojichi to consume all resources and NNORLEG of other species. Guardians opposed this philosophy." Tom thought about this. "So it's an old war that never really ended." "Correct. CYCLE of CONFLICT. 94% PROBABILITY of CONTINUATION with AUKANTORVNTON. A knock at the door interrupted them. Tom quickly covered Scrap with a blanket before opening it. Meg stood there, looking worried. "You need to come quickly. The Colony Council is meeting, and they're talking about you." Tom followed Meg to the colony's main hall. Inside, Director Wilson was addressing a crowd of colonists. "This alien technology is dangerous," Wilson was saying. "It should be studied by professionals, not left in the hands of a salvage worker." Several colonists nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. "The Crawl will return," Wilson continued. "When they do, they'll bring a bigger force. They want this weapon, and they'll destroy our colony to get it. Our only option is to turn it over to Earth authorities." Tom stepped forward. "That's not true. Scrap, the Guardian weapon, can protect us." Wilson scowled. "And who will protect us from it? This is technology far beyond our understanding. It's too dangerous for one person to control." "It's not about control," Tom argued. "Scrap chose me as its operator. I didn't ask for this, but I won't give it up either." The debate might have continued, but alarms suddenly blared throughout the colony. Everyone froze. "Incoming ships," announced the colony's automated defense system. "Multiple contacts. Unidentified." Tom rushed outside, followed by Meg and others from the meeting. In the sky above, at least a dozen ships were descending toward New Horizon. "The Crawl?" Meg asked fearfully. Tom shook his head. "Those aren't Crawl ships." He turned and ran back to his quarters to get Scrap. When he returned with the weapon, Blue and his preserver allies were already at the landing area. The ships touching down were a mix of designs, some human, some alien. "Trouble," Blue said as Tom approached. "Word has spread about the Guardian technology. These are mercenaries, bounty hunters, and government agents from a dozen worlds." The first ship landed, and a group of humans in official-looking uniforms stepped out. "Earth Alliance Special Forces," Blue explained. "They will claim the weapon for study." Another ship landed, and large insect-like aliens emerge. "Collectors," Blue said with disgust. "They trade in rare technology." More ships were landing by the minute. Tom felt overwhelmed. "What do we do?" he asked Scrap. "Tactical analysis. Colony compromised. Recommend IMNEDAT evacuation to preserve operator safety and unity integrity." Blue nodded in agreement. "My ship is ready. We must leave now, before they realize what is happening." Tom hesitated. "I can't just abandon the colony." "You won't be," Blue assured him. "My people will stay to protect it. But you and the Guardian technology must be kept safe. The Crawl will send a war fleet when they learn what has happened here." Tom looked at his crew, who had gathered nearby. "What about my friends?" "They can come too," Blue said, "but we must hurry." Tom made his decision. "Get to Blue's ship," he told his crew. "Pack only what you need." As they rushed to prepare, Director Wilson intercepted Tom. "You're running away," Wilson accused. "After bringing this trouble to our doorstep." "I'm leading the trouble away from the colony," Tom replied. "If I stay, they'll tear this place apart looking for Scrap." Wilson's expression changed. For the first time, Tom saw fear in the man's eyes. "The Crawl commander sent a message," Wilson said quietly. "They're coming back with a battle fleet. They say this Guardian technology could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. They'll destroy New Horizon to get it." "All the more reason for me to leave," Tom said. "Keep the colony safe until help arrives." He pushed past Wilson and joined his crew at Blue's ship. It was smaller than the Rusty Nail, but clearly more advanced. The hull was smooth and seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. As they boarded, Jack looked back at their old ship with regret. "All our stuff." "We'll get a new ship," Tom promised. "A better one." Blue's ship lifted off just as the first of the newcomers realized what was happening. Several tried to pursue them, but Blue's ship was faster, quickly leaving the colony behind. In orbit, Blue set a course away from New Horizon. "Where are we going?" Meg asked. "The Outer Rim," Blue replied. "There are places to hide there while we decide what to do next." Tom sat by a viewport, watching his home fade in the distance. Scrap rested in his lap, its display showing a star chart. "Multiple Pursuit VK2Rs DTECTE," Scrap announced. "4 vessels FOLODOing." Blue checked his instruments. "They're right. We're being followed. Can we outrun them?" Doc asked. "For a time. But we'll need to hide eventually." Tom studied the star chart on Scrap's display. "There," he said, pointing to a dense asteroid field. "We can lose them in there." Blue looked doubtful. "Very dangerous." "Navigational assistance available," Scrap offered. "This unit contains MAPPNG capabilities." Tom looked at Blue. "Scrap can guide us through." Blue hesitated, then nodded. "Very well." The ship changed course, heading for the asteroid field. As they approached, the huge rocks became visible through the viewport. Some were the size of mountains, others as big as entire colonies. "Into your AC with ship systems required," Scrap told Tom. "How do we do that?" Tom asked. In response, Scrap began to change shape again. Parts shifted and extended, connecting to the ship's control panel. Blue jumped back in surprise. "What is it doing?" he demanded. "Helping us," Tom replied. though he wasn't entirely sure. The ship's lights flickered, and then steadied. New displays appeared on the control panels, showing detailed maps of the asteroid field with safe paths highlighted. Integration complete. Guardian navigation systems on the line. The ship moved smoothly into the asteroid field, following the path Scrap had mapped. The pursuing ships hesitated at the edge. "They're afraid to follow," Meg said with relief. But one ship, larger than the others, plunged into the asteroids after them. Car AL Battle CRUISER DGTCTE. Scrap warned. "Commander, rank is IJNNA, URESPRECENT." Tom felt a chill. "They really want you badly." AFR Armative. Guardian Technology Priority TRGT, or KRAL Empire. As their ship weaved through the asteroids, Tom began to understand the true significance of what he had found. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to ancient power that could change the balance of the galaxy. And somehow, he, a simple salvage worker from a backwater colony, had become its keeper. "What happens now?" he asked Blue. Blue's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Now, Tom Reed, your real journey begins. The Guardians chose you for a reason. We must discover why." Behind them, the Crawl ship closed the gap, weapons charging for attack. The Crawl battle cruiser fired its first shot. The energy blast missed Blue's ship by inches, hitting a nearby asteroid instead. The rock exploded into thousands of pieces that rained down around them. "We can't outrun them forever," Meg said, gripping her seat as Blue's ship swerved to avoid debris. Tom looked down at Scrap, now partially integrated with the ship's systems. "Can you give us more speed?" "Ninja Ship capabilities at maximum. Alternative strategy required." "What alternative?" Jack asked. "We're stuck in an asteroid field with a Crawl battle cruiser hunting us." Tom fought hard. There had to be a way out of this. "Scrap, you said your data archives were partially corrupted. How much do you still remember about your own capabilities?" Scrap's display flickered. APPRXIN 43% of original SP Sci-Fi KJONs XCESSIBL. Remaining data requires reactivation protocols. "What are those protocols?" "Unknown. Data corrupted." Tom felt frustration building. "Great, just great." Doc, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. "In old stories, heroes often have to pass tests to prove themselves worthy of power. Maybe that's what's happening here." Tom looked at him skeptically. "This isn't a story, Doc." "Perhaps not," Blue said, but the Guardians were known for their wisdom. They would not want their technology to fall into the wrong hands. They would have safeguards. Another blast from the Crawl ship rocked them. Blue's piloting skills were impressive, but the Crawl commander was gaining on them. "Incoming transmission," Scrap announced suddenly. A holographic screen appeared in the center of the ship's cabin. On it was a Crawl face. Gray-scaled skin, yellow eyes, sharp teeth in a permanent snarl. This one wore elaborate armor with red markings of rank. "Human," the Crawl commander said. "I am Commander Vex of the Imperial Crawl Fleet. Surrender the Guardian technology immediately." Tom glanced at his friends, then back at the screen. "Why do you want it so badly?" Vex's eyes narrowed. "That is not your concern. Surrender now, or be destroyed." "You could have destroyed us already," Tom pointed out. "But you haven't. You want Scrap intact." Vex snarled. "Scrap? You dare give such a name to technology that once nearly destroyed my ancestors." "It chose me," Tom said simply. "Not you." "A mistake I will correct." Vex leaned closer to the screen. "The Guardians abandoned this galaxy. They left their weapons scattered like seeds. My people have searched for centuries, and you, a simple human, found one by accident. This cannot stand." The transmission cut off. Moments later, a new barrage of fire came from the crawl ship. He's trying to disable us, not destroy us, Blue observed as he piloted through the assault. Tom looked at Scrap. Is there anything in your memory banks about this Commander Vex? Searching. Partial Métis siege found. Genetic Elian AG. Ture Sigi DE War Air High Command. ANC Store. Supreme War Leader Vex there. So he's royalty, Tom said. That explains his interest. Scrap's display change, showing an image of a massive space battle. Final QNFLIT FRAG MANT HCCSSIBL. UR Dians, Varus US DEVOURERS, Decision Point. Galactic HFY Preservation Protocol. The image shifted to show what looked like thousands of objects, similar to what Scrap had once been, scattered across star systems. Is that you? Tom asked. Are there more like you out there? AFI or MATIV, Guardian Network, Dormant, awaiting reactivation. Tom's eyes widened as he began to understand. You're not just a weapon. You're part of a network, a system left behind by the Guardians. Correct. This unite, Node Bead 7 Gamma, Purpose, Monitor, Evaluate, HCTIGAT, WKN worthy operators found. Another blast hit them, closer this time. Warning lights flashed throughout the ship. We can't take much more of this, Blue warned. Tom made his decision. Scrap, how do I fully activate you? Core activation, REQUIRESPURBOF, of intent. You are Diane's protected life. What would you protect? Operator Tom Reed. It was a test, just as Doc had suggested. Tom didn't hesitate. My friends, the colony, people who can't protect themselves. I don't want power. I just want to stop the crawl from hurting others. Scrap's purple lines pulsed brighter than ever before. Intent VERFIED. Beginning. Fulul ACTI VT IGON Seiki QENC. Scrap detached from the ship's console and floated into the center of the cabin. It began to change again, growing larger, components shifting and expanding. Light poured from it, filling the cabin with a purple glow. What's happening? Meg asked, shielding her eyes. Guardian Pro Tokyo LINITIATE. Ship integration commencing. Please stand by. The light spread from Scrap to the walls of the ship, following circuitry paths no one had noticed before. Blue jumped back from the controls as they began to change shape, becoming more advanced. Impossible, Blue whispered. This ship was not built with Guardian technology. Adaptive integration. All materials co-invertible with sufficient energy. The ship shuddered, then steadied. Outside, the hull was changing color, dark metal turning silvery with purple lines similar to Scrap's. New weapons emerged from hidden compartments. Shields strengthened. Tom felt the change through his connection to Scrap. The neural link expanded, giving him awareness of the entire ship. I can feel it, he said in awe. The whole ship, it's becoming like Scrap. Transformation 87% complete. UR Diane vessel status online. The crawl battle cruiser fired again, but this time the blast bounced harmlessly off their new shields. Your turn, Tom told Scrap. The ship responded instantly. Weapons locked onto the crawl cruiser and fired. Not to destroy, just to disable. The crawl ship's engines went dark, leaving it drifting among the asteroids. Enemy vessel neutralized. No KSUALTIEs, DTTCTED. Tom nodded with satisfaction. Let's get out of this asteroid field. Their transformed ship moved smoothly through the asteroids, faster than before. Once they were clear, Scrap displayed a star chart with a destination marked. Guardian Network HFY log CATED. Recommend immediate transit. What's there? Tom asked. Primary control node. Activation will alert. All do remain Guardian technology in DSCCTR. Tom looked at his friends and blew. What do you think? I've spent my life searching for Guardian technology, Blue said. To see the hub, it would be an honor. Jack shrugged. We can't go back to New Horizon now. And I want to see where this goes. Meg added. Doc smiled. It seems the universe has chosen you for something important, We're with you. Tom nodded and set course for the coordinates Scrap had provided. As they traveled, Scrap shared more information about the Guardians, how they had fought to maintain balance in the galaxy, protecting developing civilizations from conquest. Why did they leave? Tom asked. Final data packet core repeated. Theory. Guardians be live direct nt or v into ion. No longer a propriety. Created network to identify worthy as UCCESSORs. And you think humans are worthy. Not ALO humans. You, Operator Tom Reed. Your actions demonstrated Guardian qualities. Protection without destruction. Defense without QoQest. 3 days later, they'd reached the coordinates, a small, unremarkable moon orbiting a gas giant in an empty star system. As they approached, the surface of the moon seemed to shift, revealing a hidden structure beneath. Guardian HFY reorganized. Welcome home. They landed inside a vast hangar that lit up as they entered. Outside the ship, they could see rows of dormant ships, weapons, and technology, all bearing the same purple lines as Scrap. There's enough here to change everything, Jack whispered. At the center of the hangar stood a platform with a handprint mark, similar to the one Tom had used to first activate Scrap, but larger. Final activation requires operators CO and FIRMATYON. Once INITIATED, Guardian Network will awaken. Are you prepared for this responsibility? Operator Tom Reed. Tom looked at the vast arsenal around him, then at his friends who had followed him across the stars. He thought of New Horizon, of Earth, of all the planets vulnerable to the Crawl and others like them. He stepped toward the platform. I'm ready. As his hand touched the mark, energy surged through the facility. Lights activated in sequence, spreading outward. Guardian Network ITIAL. Hang. Across the galaxy, on forgotten moons and drifting asteroids, in ancient ruins and scrap piles, pieces of junk with purple lines began to glow. What had once been thought of as scrap was about to change the galaxy forever. And it had all started with one salvage worker who saw value in what everyone else had thrown away. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Defiance. His blue uniform was pressed and perfect. The ship was quiet. Everyone was waiting. Sir, the alien ship is moving closer, said Officer Bell from his monitor. James nodded. His mouth felt dry. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens. After years of searching the stars, they had finally found other life. The Vex Empire had sent messages a month ago. Today was the big meeting. All systems ready? James asked. Yes, sir. Weapons are off but ready if needed. Shields at full power. The alien ship was huge. It looked like a sharp knife cutting through space. It was 5 times bigger than the Defiance. Its dark metal hull had strange blue lights running along its sides. James touched the small pin on his chest. It held Earth's new flag, a blue circle with all countries together as one. Only the threat of aliens had finally united Earth. Funny how that worked. They're sending a shuttle, sir, Bell said. Should be here in 10 minutes. Tell the meeting room to get ready, James ordered. He looked at his team. Remember, we want peace. We're here to be friends. The Vex ambassador was tall, at least 7 feet. His skin was blue-gray and smooth like metal. He had 4 eyes, all black with no white parts. When he walked into the meeting room with 2 guards, everyone went quiet. I am Thur, voice of the Vex Empire, he said in perfect English. They had learned it from our TV shows, they said. James stepped forward. Welcome aboard the Defiance. I'm Captain James Walker of the Earth United Forces. Thur looked around the room with all 4 eyes moving in different directions. This ship is primitive. James smiled through the insult. We're still new to space travel. That's why we're excited to meet an advanced civilization like yours. We have much to learn. The meeting started well. James showed videos of Earth, explained human history, and shared information about their science and art. Thur watched without much interest. When James finished, Thur stood up. He was so tall that his head almost touched the ceiling. Your species is young, Thur said. You have barely left your planet. The Vex Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. He made a sound like metal grinding. It took James a moment to realize it was laughter. We have found your planet has many valuable metals and minerals, Thur continued. You will serve as a mining colony for the Empire. Your people will work for us. This is a great honor. The room went silent. James felt his heart beat faster. I think there's been a mistake, he said carefully. We're looking for friendly relations, trade, cultural exchange, not servitude. Thur's 4 eyes blinked at different times. There is no mistake. Your species is weak. Your technology is simple. You will serve or you will die. The Empire has spoken. Before James could answer, Officer Bell ran into the room. Sir, hundreds of ships just appeared around Earth. They came out of nowhere. James looked at Thur, who seemed pleased. This meeting is over, James said. Return to your ship. Think carefully about your next move, human, Thur said. Resistance would be unwise. How bad is it? Admiral Emily Garcia asked. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, her face lined with worry. The hologram in the center of Earth's Defense Command showed the situation. Hundreds of Vex ships surrounded Earth. Earth's defense fleet had only 12 ships. They have us completely surrounded, James reported. Their weapons are locked on our major cities. Emily looked at the map for a long time. Order all ships to pull back to the moon base. We can't win this fight. But it was too late. 3 Earth ships exploded before they could retreat. The rest, including the Defiance, barely escaped to the moon. The United Council room was packed. Leaders from all countries sat around a large table. Screens on the walls showed the Vex ships above Earth. They've sent their demands, said President Roberto. We have 1 week to agree to become their mining colony, or they start destroying cities. The room filled with angry voices. General Thomas Reed, a tall man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples, stood up. The room went quiet. Tom had led Earth's armies for 15 years. When he spoke, people listened. They think we're weak, he said, his deep voice filling the room. They think because we haven't been fighting wars in space for thousands of years that we don't know how to fight. He looked around the room. But what do humans know better than anything else? War. He walked to the hologram map. Humans have been fighting each other since we first picked up rocks as weapons. We've fought with sticks, swords, guns, bombs. We've fought on land, sea, air. No species in the galaxy knows war like we do. But their technology, someone started, is better, yes, Tom agreed, for now. But they expect us to fight the way they do. That's where they're wrong. What are you suggesting? President Roberto asked. We make them think we're giving up, Tom said. We negotiate. Ask for better terms. Buy time. Meanwhile, we prepare. Prepare how? We can't build a fleet in a week, Emily said. We don't fight their way, Tom answered. We fight our way. Humans have always been good at one thing when backed into a corner, finding a new way to win. James felt something he hadn't felt since the Vex ships appeared. Hope. We need a secret project, Tom continued. Something they won't expect. They think they know everything about us from our broadcasts and internet. Let's show them how wrong they are. President Roberto nodded slowly. What do we tell the public? The truth, Tom said. That we're facing our greatest challenge. That the road ahead is hard. But also this, Earth will not surrender. Not today. Not ever. The Vex ultimatum arrived an hour later. The message was simple. Submit or die. Earth sent back its official response. We wish to discuss terms. But in secret, humanity made its real choice. Not surrender. Not death. Something the Vex never considered. Innovation. As night fell over Earth, lights burned late in labs and military bases around the world. The clock was ticking. 1 week to find a way to fight back against an enemy that had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. The Vex thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, far from any city, a secret base hummed with activity. The entrance looked like an old mining site. Signs warned people to stay away because of danger. But the real danger was what would happen if the work inside failed. Dr. Lisa Miller walked through the busy underground halls of Project Phoenix. She had dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since the Vex ships arrived 2 weeks ago. No one here had. How's the testing going? She asked as she entered the main lab. Mark Thompson looked up from a workbench. His hands were covered in black grease, and his red beard was messy. Before the aliens came, he had been a mining engineer. Now he was building weapons. Better, he said, holding up a small silver cylinder about the size of a soda can. This one didn't explode when we turned it on. Lisa tried to smile. That's progress. 50 of Earth's best scientists and engineers worked in this hidden base. They all knew that the fate of humanity might depend on what they created here. On the surface, Earth's leaders were still negotiating with the Vex. They had managed to extend the 1-week deadline to a month. The Vex thought humans were just delaying the inevitable. They didn't know about Project Phoenix. In a concrete room deep in the facility, General Tom Reed watched through thick glass as the team tested the new device. The silver cylinder sat on a metal table. 20 feet away, behind another glass wall, was a piece of Vex technology. A shield generator taken from a small scout ship that humans had managed to capture. Start the test, Lisa ordered. A scientist pressed a button. The Vex shield activated, a shimmering blue wall of energy that could stop bullets, bombs, even nuclear blasts. Mark took a deep breath and activated the silver cylinder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cylinder disappeared. It reappeared inside the shield, bypassing it completely. It worked, Mark shouted, jumping up. Tom leaned forward. Explain it to me again. In simple terms. Lisa nodded. The Vex use advanced shields to protect their ships. Nothing can get through those shields. Not our weapons, not even people. But this device doesn't try to break through the shield. It goes around it, Mark added. Not around in space, but around in reality. Lisa tried to find words for complex science. We've developed quantum entanglement technology. It creates a link between 2 points in space. The device disappears from one point and appears at another. The shield doesn't matter because the device never passes through it. Tom nodded slowly. And once it's inside their ships. Mark grinned. Boom. The device creates a powerful electromagnetic pulse. Lisa explained. It fries all electronics within 50 feet. A ship hit with this would be dead in space. Tom walked closer to the glass. How many can you make? And how soon? That's the best part, Mark said. We've simplified the design. We can make hundreds in a week, thousands in a month. For the first time since the Vex arrived, Tom smiled. The Vex think we're going to fight them with our regular weapons. Missiles, lasers, bombs. They've built defenses against all of that. But they've never seen anything like this, Lisa said. When can we deploy the first batch? Tom asked. 3 days, Mark answered. We're calling them quantum disruptors. Tom nodded. 3 days. Good, because the Vex governor is arriving in 4. On the surface, things looked bad for Earth. The Vex had begun their occupation, landing ships in major cities around the world. Humans were ordered to continue normal life, but to prepare for resource extraction duties. The Vex governor, a tall blue-skinned alien named Pell, landed his ship in what used to be Central Park in New York City. Humans watched from behind barriers as the aliens built their headquarters. Look at them, Captain James Walker said, watching the scene from a nearby rooftop. He wore civilian clothes now, not his uniform. They think they've won. Admiral Emily Garcia stood beside him. For now, let them think that. James looked at the small backpack at his feet. Inside were 5 of the new quantum disruptors. These really work. They worked in tests, Emily said. We'll find out for sure tomorrow. James looked at his watch. The governor is giving his big speech in 24 hours. All Vex ships will be in position above major cities to show their power. Emily nodded. And that's when we strike. Operation Thunderclap. My team is ready, James said. We have agents in place near every major Vex facility. They all have disruptors. Remember, this has to be coordinated, Emily warned. Every team hits their target at exactly the same time. The Vex can't have any warning. James picked up the backpack carefully. What about our remaining ships? Hidden behind Jupiter's moons, Emily said. Once the Vex ships are disabled, our fleet will attack. And if this doesn't work, James asked quietly. Emily looked out at the alien ships hovering over the city. Then humanity becomes a footnote in Vex history books. The next day, Governor Pell stood on a platform in front of his new headquarters. Thousands of humans were forced to attend his speech. Millions more watched on TV. Vex soldiers with strange weapons stood guard everywhere. People of Earth, Pell began, his voice translated through speakers. Today marks the beginning of your new purpose. The Vex Empire welcomes you as its newest resource world. As he spoke, 2 blocks away, James and his team moved into position near a Vex communication center. Similar teams were in place around the world. Your existence now has meaning, Pell continued. You will serve the Empire. Your minerals will strengthen our fleets. Your labor will show your gratitude for our mercy. James checked his watch. 5 minutes until Thunderclap. In orbit, the Vex flagship, the Eternal Dominion, hung above New York. Commander Thur stood on its bridge, watching the speech on a screen. The humans are accepting their fate better than expected, an officer reported. Thur made that strange grinding sound that was Vex laughter. They are weak. They know they cannot fight us. On Earth, James looked at his watch again. 1 minute. In her underground command center, Admiral Emily gave the order. Commence Operation Thunderclap. Across the world, human agents activated their quantum disruptors. In space, small silver cylinders suddenly appeared inside Vex ships, bypassing their powerful shields as if they weren't there. The first flash of light came from the Eternal Dominion, then another, then dozens more as Vex ships lost power across Earth's orbit. On the ground, Governor Pell stopped mid-speech as his communication device went dead. The lights in all Vex buildings suddenly went out. From behind Jupiter's moons, Earth's remaining fleet emerged, weapons ready. Captain Walker's voice broadcast across all frequencies. This is humanity's answer to your ultimatum. The battle for Earth had begun. Commander Thur stood on the bridge of the Vex flagship Eternal Dominion. The massive ship hung in space above what humans called New York City, but what Vex maps now labeled as Administrative Region 1. Through the large viewing window, he watched human workers loading minerals onto transport ships. Status report on mining operations. Thur ordered. He was pleased. The humans had put up less resistance than expected. Their leaders had tried to negotiate better terms, but in the end, they had accepted their place, just as all species did when facing the Vex Empire. His lieutenant began to answer when a sharp alarm suddenly blared across the ship. Red lights flashed on control panels. "What is happening?" Thur demanded. The lieutenant looked confused. "I don't." He never finished his sentence. Throughout the massive warship, small silver cylinders appeared out of nowhere. One moment there was nothing. The next the devices were there, inside the ship, past all their shields. Each cylinder glowed bright blue for a second, then released a powerful pulse of energy. Screens went black. Lights died. Weapons systems failed. "Emergency power," Thur shouted, but nothing happened. The mighty warship, pride of the Vex fleet, was dead in space. On Earth, behind Jupiter's moons, and in hidden bases around the solar system, humanity launched its counterattack. Earth's remaining ships, which had been hiding since the invasion began, suddenly appeared. They had been modified with the new quantum disruptor technology. Captain James Walker sat in the command chair of the Freedom, a small but fast attack ship. On his screen, he could see the Vex vessels drifting powerless. "All ships, this is Captain Walker," he said into his communication system. "Target Vex vessels and fire at will. Remember, hit their engine rooms first." Across all frequencies, human ships broadcast the same message. "This is humanity's answer to your ultimatum." The Vex had never faced a serious challenge in centuries. Their commanders were trained to follow a strict chain of command. But with their flagship disabled and communications down, that chain was broken. Many Vex ships simply waited for orders that would never come. In his underground command center, General Tom Reed watched the battle unfold on large screens. The room was tense and quiet except for the occasional update from officers. "Vex flagship Eternal Dominion completely disabled, sir. Lunar Defense Station has fallen. Our forces are securing it now. 34 Vex vessels destroyed, 52 disabled and being boarded." Tom nodded at each report. The plan was working better than they had hoped. The quantum disruptors had caught the Vex completely off guard. Admiral Emily Garcia entered the room. "They never expected this," she said, looking at the screens. "They thought we would use conventional weapons, missiles, lasers. They prepared for that." "The best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know exists," Tom replied. On one screen, he could see human soldiers boarding a disabled Vex cruiser. The alien crew was surrendering without much fight. Vex soldiers were trained to follow orders, not to think for themselves. Without their commanders, they seemed lost. "What's the status on the ground?" Tom asked. "Just as good," Emily said. "The quantum disruptors knocked out all their bases. Governor Pell was captured trying to reach his shuttle. Most Vex ground forces have surrendered." Tom allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. On the captured Vex flagship, Lisa Miller and her team moved quickly through the alien corridors. The ship was huge, with ceilings twice as high as human ships to accommodate the tall Vex. "This way," Mark Thompson said, checking a small device in his hand. "The engine room should be down this hall." They passed Vex crew members who had been secured by human soldiers. The aliens sat quietly, their four eyes blinking in different patterns. Without orders, they seemed to have no idea what to do. The engine room was massive. Strange machines hummed with energy even though most of the ship was powerless. "Look at this technology," Lisa whispered in awe. "Their power systems are decades ahead of ours." Mark was already connecting a small computer to one of the Vex control panels. "If we can understand how this works, we can adapt it to our ships." Lisa nodded. "We don't have much time. Download everything you can." Similar scenes were playing out on captured Vex vessels throughout the solar system. Humanity had realized that they couldn't just fight the Vex. They needed to learn from them, to take their technology and improve it. 3 days after Operation Thunderclap began, Tom Reed addressed the United Council. In 72 hours, we have destroyed or captured 30% of the Vex occupation fleet, he reported. We've taken control of all their ground bases. Their leadership structure has collapsed. The room erupted in cheers. For the first time since the Vex arrived, there was real hope. President Roberto raised his hands for quiet. What about Governor Pell? In custody, Tom said, and willing to talk. The Vex don't handle defeat well. They have no experience with it. And Commander Thur, still on his ship, which we now control. He refuses to surrender personally, but his crew has abandoned him. It's only a matter of time. Roberto looked around the room. This is a great victory, but we must be realistic. The Vex Empire is vast. We've defeated only a small part of their forces. Tom nodded. True. Governor Pell has already sent an emergency message to the Empire. We let that transmission through on purpose. We want them to know what happened. Why? Someone asked. Because when they send reinforcements, and they will, we want them to be afraid, Tom said. Fear makes enemies make mistakes. In his cell, Governor Pell sat perfectly still, all four eyes fixed on the wall. He had sent his message to the Empire. We have gravely miscalculated. Request immediate reinforcements. What he hadn't told his superiors was how the humans had defeated them. Let them come unprepared, just as his forces had been. The humans had a saying he had learned. Pride comes before a fall. The Vex had been proud. Now they were falling. Aboard the Freedom, James Walker looked at the alien device his team had recovered from a Vex weapon storage. It was small and round with strange markings. What do you think it is? His second-in-command asked. I don't know, James said, but I bet our scientists can figure it out, and maybe make it better. That was the difference between humans and the Vex, he thought. The Vex relied on their technology, but didn't push its limits. Humans took technology and reimagined it, improved it, combined it in ways its creators never considered. On his screen, he could see the disabled Vex flagship drifting against the backdrop of Earth. The mighty vessel that had once threatened their world was now just a floating piece of metal. Send a message to all ships, James ordered. Phase 1 complete. Prepare for Phase 2. The real war was just beginning. 6 months passed after humanity's surprise attack. 6 months of preparing, building, and waiting. Everyone knew the Vex Empire would respond. An empire that spanned hundreds of star systems would not accept defeat from a species they considered primitive. James Walker, now promoted to admiral, stood on the bridge of the Defiance. The ship had been rebuilt with Vex technology they had captured. It was faster and stronger than before. Any sign of them? He asked. Officer Bell, who had stayed with him from the beginning, checked his screen. Nothing yet, sir. But our long-range sensors can only see so far. James nodded. The waiting was the hardest part. Earth had used these 6 months well. They had built more ships, created more weapons, and spread defenses throughout the solar system. But would it be enough? The answer came at dawn the next day. Admiral, Bell shouted. Multiple ships appearing near Jupiter. James rushed to the bridge. The screen showed dots appearing one after another. Not dozens of ships. Not hundreds. Thousands. The Imperial fleet had arrived. In her command center on Earth, Admiral Emily Garcia watched the enemy ships appear one after another. The room was silent except for the constant beep of sensors detecting new vessels. There are too many, her tactical officer whispered. Emily's face showed no fear, but inside her stomach twisted. The Vex had sent more ships than they had expected. Far more. Numbers aren't everything, she replied calmly. Execute Operation Hornet's Nest. For the past 6 months, human ships had been busy throughout the solar system. What looked like mining operations on asteroids and moons were actually manufacturing facilities. They weren't mining for metals, they were building quantum disruptors. Millions of them. As the Imperial fleet moved into attack formation around Jupiter, these hidden bases activated. Thousands of automated launchers aimed at the Vex armada. On the Vex command ship, Admiral Zur stood tall and confident. He had brought enough firepower to destroy Earth 10 times over. "The humans think they can stand against the Empire," he told his officers. "We will show them the price of defiance." His tactical officer approached. "Sir, we're detecting small objects moving toward our fleet." "Missiles?" Zur asked, unconcerned. "Human weapons could not penetrate Vex shields." "No, sir. They're too small. And there are thousands of them." Zur felt the first hint of worry. Raise all shields to maximum power. But shields didn't matter against quantum disruptors. The small devices appeared inside the Vex ships, bypassing their defenses completely. This time, the disruptors weren't aimed at control systems, but at something more dangerous: fuel reserves. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky and gasped. Bright flashes lit up the darkness like new stars being born. But these weren't stars. They were Vex ships exploding. The coordinated detonation created a chain reaction. As one ship's fuel exploded, it damaged nearby vessels. Those ships then exploded themselves, causing even more damage. In less than an hour, the mighty Imperial fleet was in chaos. Admiral Zur managed to withdraw with about 1/3 of his fleet intact. The rest were destroyed or so badly damaged they could not fight. For the first time in anyone's memory, the Vex Imperial Council declared a strategic retreat. Not a temporary withdrawal, not a tactical repositioning, a retreat. In the command center, General Tom Reed received an important message from Intelligence Officer David Russell. "Sir, we intercepted a Vex transmission," David reported. "It took some time to translate it correctly. I think you'll want to see this." Tom read the translation and smiled. "The humans don't fight like a civilized species," it said. "They fight like cornered animals." Tom looked up at David. "Send a message back. Tell them we're just getting started." The celebration on Earth was huge. People filled the streets, cheering and singing. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and had not only survived but won. But in a quiet room in the United Council building, the mood was more serious. James Walker, Emily Garcia, Tom Reed, Lisa Miller, and President Roberto sat around a table looking at reports. "This was a great victory," Roberto said. "But the war isn't over." Tom nodded. "The Vex Empire is still out there. They'll be back. But they'll be more careful next time," Lisa added. "They won't underestimate us again." "Good," James said, "because now we're going to take the fight to them." Emily looked surprised. "To their territory. We barely have enough ships to defend our own system." James smiled. "That's where our new project comes in." "Lisa, tell them." Lisa pulled up images on a screen. It showed a massive ship under construction in orbit around Mars. "This is the Retribution," she explained. "It's twice the size of our largest current vessel. It uses a combination of human innovation and Vex technology we've captured." Tom studied the images. "How long until it's ready?" 3 months, Lisa answered. "We've been building it in sections and hiding the parts in the asteroid belt. The Vex never noticed." "And what makes it special?" Roberto asked. Mark Thompson, who had just entered the room, answered that question. "It can create its own jump points." Everyone stared at him. "Jump points?" Emily asked. "Like the ones the Vex used to travel between star systems," Mark explained. "We figured out how their faster-than-light travel works. The Retribution won't just be able to defend our system. It can take the fight directly to Vex worlds." The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. "So we have a choice," Roberto said finally. "We can fortify our system and prepare for the next Vex attack. Or we can take the offensive." Tom didn't hesitate. "We attack. The Vex came to our home and threatened our existence. Now we bring the fight to them." James nodded in agreement. "They thought we were weak. They thought they could conquer us easily. Now they know better. But there's one more lesson they need to learn." "What's that?" Roberto asked. "Never threaten humanity," James said, "unless you're prepared for the consequences." The meeting ended with a decision. In 3 months, when the retribution was ready, humanity would take its first steps beyond the solar system. Not as explorers, but as warriors, bringing a simple message to the Vex Empire. The species they had underestimated was coming for them, and their fleets would burn. 1 year had passed since the Vex ships first appeared above Earth. In that year, everything had changed. Humanity had gone from a species confined to one solar system to a force that made a galactic empire tremble. Admiral James Walker stood on the bridge of the Retribution, Earth's newest and largest warship. It was twice the size of his old ship, the Defiance, and built with a combination of human ingenuity and Vex technology. The bridge was quiet as the crew prepared for their most ambitious mission yet. They were positioned at the edge of human space, ready to make the jump into Vex territory. "All systems ready, sir," reported Officer Bell, who had been with James from the beginning. James nodded. He looked at the large view screen showing the 20 other ships in his fleet. Not a large force compared to what the Vex could gather, but these ships had something the Vex didn't: humans who could adapt and innovate. "Send the message to Earth," James ordered. "Operation Spearhead is commencing." In the command center on Earth, Admiral Emily Garcia received the message. She turned to General Tom Reed and President Roberto. "They're ready," she said. Tom looked at the star map showing the planned attack route. "We could have stayed in our own system," he said quietly. "Built defenses, prepared for the next Vex attack." "That's not who we are," Roberto replied. "The Vex came to our home and threatened our existence. Now we take the fight to them." Emily nodded. "Send the authorization code. And may they come home safely." On the Retribution, James received the code. "All ships, prepare for jump. Target: Vex border outpost in the Proxima system." The new jump drive hummed to life. Based on captured Vex technology, but improved by human engineers, it allowed ships to create paths through space that shortened the journey between stars from years to minutes. A blue-white tunnel of energy appeared in front of the fleet. One by one, the ships entered. The journey to Vex space had begun. The Vex outpost in the Proxima system was unprepared for attack. For centuries, no species had dared to challenge the Empire's borders. The defenders watched in shock as 20 human ships appeared from jump points directly above their main base. "This is Admiral James Walker of Earth." James broadcast on all frequencies. "Surrender your outpost or face destruction." The Vex commander's reply was defiant. "The Empire does not surrender to primitives." "Have it your way," James said. "All ships, deploy quantum disruptors." The battle was short. The Vex had improved their defenses against the disruptors, but humans had improved their weapons too. In less than an hour, the outpost was under human control. As his team secured the base and downloaded its information, James looked at the star charts they had captured. The Vex Empire was vast, spanning hundreds of systems, but it was also spread thin, with many outposts as poorly defended as this one. "Send the data back to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the path is clear for Phase 2. On the Vex homeworld, a planet called Vexer, the Imperial Council gathered in emergency session. Emperor Zell, leader of the Vex for over 200 years, looked at the reports with all 4 of his eyes. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These humans were confined to their planet just 1 year ago. Now they attack our borders." Admiral Zur, who had barely escaped the disaster at Earth, stepped forward. "They learn quickly, Your Majesty. They take our technology and improve it in ways we never considered. And they fight." Another council member began. "Like animals," Zur finished. "They do not follow the rules of civilized warfare. They use trickery and surprise instead of honorable direct confrontation." Emperor Zal was silent for a long moment. In his 2 centuries of rule, the Empire had never faced a serious threat. The Vex had conquered dozens of species, all of whom eventually accepted their place in the Empire's hierarchy. But the humans were different. They refused to accept defeat. They fought back with whatever they had. And somehow, they were winning. "We must gather all our forces," Zal finally said. "Every ship, every soldier. We will crush these humans once and for all." But even as he gave the order, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered a dangerous thought. What if we can't? Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Miller and Mark Thompson worked with a team of scientists studying Vex technology. The lab was filled with alien devices taken from captured ships and bases. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a screen. "The Vex have had faster-than-light travel for thousands of years, but they haven't improved it. The design is exactly the same as in their oldest records." Mark nodded. "They don't innovate. They perfect something and then never change it." That was the key difference between humans and the Vex. The Vex had advanced technology, but they had stopped pushing its limits centuries ago. Humans, in contrast, constantly reimagined, improved, and combined technologies in ways their creators never considered. In just 1 year, humans had taken Vex jump drive technology and made it 30% more efficient. They had improved Vex weapons systems, shield generators, and communication networks. They had even begun developing technology the Vex had never conceived of. "The new prototype is ready for testing," Mark said, leading Lisa to another part of the lab. He pointed to a small device on a table. "If this works, it could change everything." As reports came in of human fleets advancing through their territory, systematically dismantling their defenses with technologies the Vex couldn't counter, Emperor Zal made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "Send the message," he ordered. "We seek terms." On the Retribution, James received the transmission with surprise. The Vex Empire, which had threatened to enslave humanity, was now asking for peace talks. He immediately sent the message to Earth. Hours later, the response came from President Roberto and the United Council. "We accept their invitation to negotiate, but from a position of strength, not weakness." At Earth's United Council, the leaders gathered to discuss the Vex offer. The mood was cautious but optimistic. "They came to conquer us because they thought we were weak," General Tom Reed said. "They're negotiating now because they've learned the truth. Humanity doesn't break. We adapt, we overcome, and when threatened, we fight back with everything we have." President Roberto nodded. "We will accept their offer of peace talks, but we will not return to the way things were before. The age of human expansion begins today." Across the stars, the remnants of the once mighty Vex fleet drifted powerless, a testament to the fatal mistake they had made. They had underestimated humanity, and now their fleets were burning. 1 month later, James Walker stood in the great hall of the Vex Imperial Palace. Emperor Zal sat on a high throne, looking down at the human delegation. "Your species has proven itself formidable," the Emperor said. "The Empire offers you a place as equals, not subjects." James thought of all humanity had endured and achieved in the past year. They had gone from nearly being enslaved to forcing the Galactic Empire to the negotiating table. "Humanity does not seek conquest," James replied. "But we will never accept chains. We offer peace based on mutual respect and the right of all species to determine their own future." As the peace treaty was signed, James looked out the palace windows at the stars beyond. Just 1 year ago, those stars had seemed impossibly far away. Now they were the beginning of humanity's new frontier. The Vex had thought humans were weak because they had not yet reached for the stars. They had learned their mistake, and the universe would never be the same. The end